ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Burhan here for another Moviefile. Yes, this is episode 2 of season 2. I did say I would get to it finally, of course, but I've been very unwell. I mean, I've literally had so much shit that even talking about shit would not really help. So I'm getting out of being bedbound. Of course, I decided to do another Moviefile, get myself better, pump myself up, put myself full of vitamins, just so I could talk about the heaving pile of anal mess that is Godzilla. A movie that has been embraced by all, been loved by so many. It's a movie that has had so much praise and critical reception that I have no idea why. Reason being, guys, I'm not a fan of this movie, and I'll tell you a clear-cut reason why that is. It's because when I look at movies, I went through this movie review through kind of a more of a reviewer's hat, so to speak. I looked at cinematography, I looked at camera angles, I looked at basically the bare bones of acting, the script, everything in terms of character development in this movie. And I can tell you right now, this movie has none of that. It shows, and I'll tell you the reason why in a little bit. Because we're going to go on and talk about the story of the movie. So for all you people out there, in the lovely way that Dave Wade usually does it, spoilers! So if you want, you haven't seen the movie yet, you're waiting for the DVD release or the Blu-ray release, of course, please turn this off now. I dare you. Just turn it off. There's no reason why you're watching this. Seriously, I'm going to reveal a lot to you, and you're going to get very pissed off. Anytime now. I really mean it. It's going to happen. I'm going to say it. You haven't turned it off. So, okay, for most of you that are still here, let's get on to it, of course, and talk about the story.
No problem there. You want us to wash them up for you too?
Now, the Godzilla 2014 is an American science fiction remake directed by Gareth Edwards. Of course, it's a reboot of the Godzilla franchise. This is basically the movie that was promised to us back in 1998 when we had that big lizard descend itself on New York City and Matthew Broderick attempt to cure us of that lizard. This was the Godzilla movie that we were all wanting, and this is the Godzilla movie that they left for us. Like a steaming pile of monster dung.
That is one big pile of shit.
Now that being said, let's continue and talk about who it's starring. Of course, it stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson, of course, Ken Watanabe, I probably butchered that, the lovely Elizabeth Olsen, Juliette Binoche, Say Hawkins, David Stratham, and of course the great Bryan Cranston, who's been promoted in all the adverts for this movie. That was just so misadvertising. Where was the advertising standards agency for this? Literally.
You lied to me.
Now, it was a co-production between legendary pictures who brought us some amazing movies such as the Batman Nolan trilogy, of course, and Warner Brothers Pictures, again, who brought us the amazing Nolan Batman trilogy, and they brought us this.
That is one big pile of shit.
As I've said, directed by Gareth Edwards, who's somebody who's kind of fairly new into the directing genre, and it does show in terms of this movie alone. So let's go into the story. Basically, the start of the story, you have this huge cave which has been under investigation of 2 broken eggs. So you can see something where these fossilized sort of monster creatures, where these bomb tests have basically happened, basically escape. So that's the big thing. Then we cut to Joe Brody, an American-born scientist, of course, with his lovely wife, beautiful son, and 2.5 children, as you would say, but it's a family thing. Decide that he's going to get his son to drop off at school. Him and his wife goes to work, and everything's happy. And it's also his birthday.
It's my mother
Amazing things and hilarities ensue, and it shows how loved up. Now, this is a great bit of character development, a bit rushed in terms of revealing who Joe is, but we need to know for the future referencing in this film. Really, that's what we need to do. Because he's going to be a major part of this movie. I can tell he will be a major part. Of course, he will be. Due to the success of Breaking Bad, I see nothing but promise here for Bryan Cranston. Don't look at me like that.
You lied to me.
What Joe does, he sends his wife Sandra basically into the plant to see results because there's some huge seismic activity going on in the plant, and he needs to prove to the heads of the plant why they need to shut this plant down. Now, by sending her into the bowels of the plant, he literally risks her life. And the fact is, it happens because there's a huge core explosion that happens in this facility that is caused by something. They don't know what, they don't know how, and his wife is caught in the middle of it. He, goes down to the bottom of the plant, tries to get her out, and you see there's this groundbreaking, this heart-wrenching, this emotional scene where he leaves his wife to die. She's been contaminated, her and the rest of her team have been contaminated, and he has to leave her to die. And it gets to the point where you see it, and everybody is extremely emotional. I was crying in the cinema. I saw babies cry. It was extremely emotional, and again a bit rushed in terms of character development. But we go on. Now we progress on to present day, where Joe's son is now a military bomb disposal person. Basically, is just coming back from the military to go and join his wife and his son at home. He's relaxing, having plenty of sex. Even though she's going to be his sister in the next Avengers movie. Awkward.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Anyway, acting aside, let's basically continue with this. He goes home, lives with family, so to speak, enjoying himself and forgetting about the horrendous incident that happened, and only even mentions his father under bated breath. He receives a phone call, and his father has basically been arrested for trying to go back on to the site where the incidents happen. Now, he goes to collect his father, of course, and as his father basically comes out, we see a nice picture of Bryan Cranston coming out, holding his clothing, with his son goes to collect him, and he's basically having a bit of a rant session with them as the military police are trying to sort of segue him out there. They're covering something up, and Bryan knows. Fuck yeah, Bryan knows. And of course he knows, because there's going to be goddamn Cranston is going to... He's going to be the main thing. I can see it. I can see it happen. It's going to be amazing. And I can't wait for this. All the build-up, the character development. It's amazing.
You lied to me.
Now, Joe basically living in a very small sort of Japanese apartment. Has all these... He's doing loads of research on seismic activity. Looking at ways that things are communicating. He doesn't believe that the power plant accident was an accident. He doesn't believe that the plant itself collapsed and that there was radiation everywhere. He believes something did this, that something's calling out. So he's basically been trying over the last 15, 20 years to try and figure out what the hell has happened. Now, the great thing about Cranston, he makes anything believable. He can sell you butter on toast and make you want more. That's how great Cranston is, and his portrayal as Joe at the moment has been amazing. So he's sitting there, he's talking to his son, he's telling his son Ford what's happening and that they need to investigate this. So Ford goes with him to the site, and just to get his old tapes to figure out exactly what's going on so they can secure the data. So Joe and Ford are down there the next day. They're covered, and he suddenly just takes his hat off because he realises there's no radiation. The radiation is gone. That the site itself is all clean. He doesn't know why this is happening. Ford is panicking the fucking shitfest, shitting bricks at the moment, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. They go to the house, they collect the data, and then they get taken by the military police once again. So they get taken to a site, a facility where experiments are being tested on something. Now, Joe has been locked in this little small sort of broom closet, And for some reason, the worst shaky cam in the world is focusing on Bryan Cranston, on Joe, as he's trying to figure out what the hell's happening with his son, who's locked away in a police van, not taken to any facilities or jails for some, which I don't know why, as Cranston's attempting to explain himself and figure out what's going on. There's a nice little monologue moment that's almost Shakespearean in its context. It rolls off the tongue, and Cranston really lets his character shine. And he's trying to figure out what's going on then we see another scientist who was on the site previously when these events happened, who knows a bit too much. Dr. Shizawa, played by Ken Watanabe, finds this data. Basically, he's got the data, he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on, still feeling a bit remorse, and he sees something in Crystallis. Now, this is a big thing, no one knows what the hell it is. They're feeding this thing radiation. Again, this I don't understand it. They're studying it. There's basically, he seems as sort of the antagonist here because he's aiding and abetting this creature's survival. Now, they decide to kill it. The thing then breaks out after seeing the signals and what's going on. And Joe, the whole facility goes mad. Joe basically goes out after everyone's trying to leave. People are dying. I mean, this thing causes, it's this big sort of moth type creature. I think it looks like a moth or some sort of nasty creature thingy. And it goes around and it's causing all this havoc before it tries to fly away. And Joe goes out to save his son, and in the middle of it, he's on top of a bridge. The bridge collapses, and Joe is fatally hurt. You know where I'm going, folks. You knew it was going to happen. If you've seen the movie, you know that the only character with character development here is going to die. And no, I had hope that this character that they poured all this knowledge to, that they gave all this backstory to, that had this relationship with his son that was destroyed because of the incidents that happened previously, and also because of the incidents that happened at the moment, because of the fact he was obsessed due to losing his wife. Character development. Losing his wife. He ends up being killed.
You lied to me.
So then, Ford basically manages to escape, luckily, with his life, as this creature decides to fly off. Loads of casualties around. They then take him and his father on board a helicopter that goes to the US vessel, basically, because Dr. Shearer pointed them out as he wanted them to assist him with his research. And Cranston's character then later dies off screen. The biggest insult you can have to this movie is have the lead die off screen. The most well drawn out character in your movie dies off screen in favour of his son Ford, who has amount of emotional attachment to me as I have to you right now. You know, for those people who've just turned in, new viewers, you have no idea who the hell I am. And I'm basically trying to invest in a character that has no backstory apart from his mum's dead, his dad's now dead, and you know what he does? To sort of like, when they alert him and say, hey, your dad's dead, he does this. Meh. Literally. That's the acting. He just goes meh. And then, as Dr. Shearer asks him what the fuck's going on, he gives him the discs, gives him this paper, which suddenly Dr. Shearer gets all that fucking knowledge from Joe, and realises that's how they're going to stop this thing. That he realizes everything that he's done has happened for a reason, and he has every bit of knowledge and knows why these creatures are being made, what they are, why they're happening. I'm not fucking kidding you.
Well, will you look at me? I have the power!
Ooh. And it gets better, young Bucky. It gets better. Now, the US Army basically finds this creature known as Muto. It's apparently a genetic kind of virus. It's like something from the prehistoric age of dinosaurs. And it feeds off nuclear energy. And apparently, Dr. Ushawa was actually stating that a creature known as Godzilla is the balance, nature's way of restoring it. It's a hunter that preys on these things and kills them basically to restore balance. So this is a thing of good. No reason why this is the thing of good. There's no backstory to it. Nobody knows the reason behind that. It just is. Okay. I'll allow you to take me into the story like that, guys, and immerse me. So there's no backstory for Godzilla. There's no, apart from being the thing that creates balance. There's a little backstory for the Muto creatures. And Dr. Ashiru, who's been the antagonist, the supposed and written antagonist, because it's been written that way, has now basically become the protagonist, along with Ford, who then decides to go home. Ford's on the train with this kid who somehow gets left by, with his parents, basically going fucking ballistic on the train. It's kind of an attempt for them to kind of sympathise with the character a little bit. So he's sitting on this train with the kid, gives him this little toy that he was playing with when he was a kid. So you have a nice little cut back to his scene, little dream sequence saying, hey, I used to play with this as a kid. So he gives that to him. Kind of a toy, an Army Man toy that he had when he was at the house. So he gives that to this kid. This kid is basically going through all that. We see the Muto basically like trying to get past the military, who are being dumb fucks. I mean dumb fucks. Basically shooting at this thing in front of a crowded fucking train. The train then gets collapsed by this Muto thing. People are flying out by the fucking barrelful, and this kid is holding on to his arm because this kid's gonna fucking die without him. Power gets put back to this tram. The go makes its way to their destination, and luckily enough, the parents are waiting on the other side, and this kid runs away from him. Parents don't know who he is. Just saying, Ford could have been a pedophile. We don't know. Hasn't been written. Backstory. This is where you write your characters out. If you see well-written movies like Jacob's Ladder, for instance, you would know this. If you've seen a very well-written movie, they actually give these characters backstories. No. Ford spends this time with this little kid who we don't know who the fuck this kid is. Why should I give a fucking shit about this kid? I don't know. Goes back to his parents. That story's done. That's out. Going back to the boat. They realise that this thing is eating nuclear waste. So do you know what the lovely army, the fucking contestants of Big Brother, they could be, because these guys are so dumb. I mean, dumb as fucking shit. They decide that they're going to get a big bomb, get these Muto creatures to the bomb, allow Godzilla to go and fight them, and then boom, explode the bomb so that they will all perish. So, right, let me tell you the reason why this is the worst thing that anyone could do. Creature eats nuclear waste. You're going to be a huge bomb that emits nuclear waste. Creature that has shown that it doesn't die from nuclear waste, that it feeds on it. Allow it to eat. Allow it to feed. And then creature's not going to go boom. Creature's not going to die. Creature gonna munch. US military are fucking stupid.
The bloody hell are you two talking about?
Now, back home, we go to basically Ford's wife, who I don't really give a fuck what her name is, because I could care less. really trying to wonder what the hell's happening with the dad. Son points out that there's loads of shit going on with creatures and Godzilla going raw, because he's currently hunting these things, and the US military, that the mother gets a bit scared. Takes her little son to the hospital with her as she's trying to do her shifts and tend to the people who are basically not dead yet from all this chaos, and try and help instead of leaving the city with her son, which any sane parent would do. You put your son in immense danger, but you don't want to leave the city. What the fuck? So she goes to the hospital. Then her friend, the only sane person I have ever fucking seen in this movie, decides, hey, why don't I take your little boy with me? We'll go to the fallout shelters that the military has placed for us. And again, this is the same stupid fucking military that wants to put the bomb with the creature so it feeds. And then goes, okay then, take my son, put them in the military shelter of the retarded military, and go. So she decides to do that after being convinced to do so. Her friend goes off, and then we cut back to Ford again, going through his journey, talking to his military captain, saying, I need to basically go with you guys, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm a bomb disposal guy. I know this bomb that you guys are implementing. Let me do it. I've used this style of bomb. It has a sort of a cog-like mechanism. It's an old style bomb. It can only be turned on and off manually. So he goes, convinces his army drill sergeant that he's going to basically do it. So he goes and does that. They go to basically intercept the bomb, and guess what happens? Everybody on his team dies. Everyone apart from him. He's the only known survivor and is left in a situation where I don't even know how the fuck he survived, as the Muto creature targeted the fucking bomb and put it in his mouth and wanted to consume it like it is basically programmed to do. They then figure out there's two of these fucking things and it's going to mate. That's what the species like this are going to do. So it's going to lay eggs, and these eggs are going to be placed on it, and there's going to be more of these creatures, and it'll end up overrunning the world and killing everything in sight, because it will create a rebirth. Godzilla, still trying to hunt this thing down, is then stopped by the military, who commence firing on the fucking thing in front of a crowded bus full of school children, elderly people, and also in front of people who are looking to get out of the city. The bus driver does the only sensible thing and tries to drive past it all, out of the way of tanks, where one of them is blocking it so they can fire at Godzilla. God help me. If this is the way that the real US military works, no wonder everyone's in fucking trouble. This just, it's so perplexing how they can be so badly written that these characters would be going after the fucking creature in front of crowded people. It's like the common sense approach would be is to lead the creature into a non-crowded place, to somewhere where they know there won't be people, and then commence firing at it. Why would you fire at it in front of crowded buses full of people, in front of cars, in front of people looking to escape, just so you could kill the thing? Well, weapons that you know don't work on it. Frustrating. This movie was completely and utterly frustrating, and trust me, I was annoyed. The painstaking annoyance went further. Now, as Ford, who's basically not dead yet because somehow he's fucking Superman, basically tries to go back down to his folks, he realises afterwards that he needs to put a stop to the bomb, because they figure out that the bomb itself has been isolated, the creature has it, and the nest has been placed on this bomb, because it's made a nest over loads of broken buildings and doors and shit, so they need to go and do it. The military, which is actually captained by one of the kids from Home Improvement, which actually made me fucking laugh, decide to send their special ops team, with him included, to go after this fucking thing. Because of course they've got Superman. All he's got to do is use his fucking X-ray vision to find the bomb and then put a laser through the fucking thing, because obviously he can't die. That's just... And after an abundance of shaky cam going on through this movie, he then finds the bomb, and then we see loads of cutaway scenes from Godzilla. I mean, explodes to the point where I want to see the fucking creature fight, but the camera keeps turning away and focusing on Ford. I don't give a fuck about Ford. I want to see Godzilla. So as the movie continues, they then find the bomb. They can't disarm it, so he manages to basically take the armed mechanism with the bomb itself out of this big fucking capsule, and also kills the remaining children by setting them on fire. And again, no one knows how the hell he knew to do this. Nobody knows how the fuck he actually managed to get this done. Or the fact that he just had it popped into his head of going, I've got this bomb mechanism, maybe I should set those things on fire and they'll die. That's the only thing on here. So he goes and does that. He takes the bomb mechanism, and meanwhile his lovely wife is basically collapsed underneath a building after Godzilla, and Muto basically leave them in that whole state. Now the military themselves then figure out, after the behest of Dr. Shizawa, that they need to let Godzilla do his thing and have faith in the big creature to restore balance. I'm not fucking kidding. The military, who've decided to have a bright idea of planting a bomb on the fucking things, killing Godzilla, and trying to sacrifice as many of their own people as possible, then realise, well, nothing else better to do. Let's just let Godzilla do his thing. So that continues. They do that. He then escapes out as these Muto creatures, kills every single one of his comrades. He then is basically, after being nearly fatally wounded by this thing, ends up on a boat, gets himself through after Godzilla kills one of the Muto creatures, after we see the thing fight, which, you know what, I have to admit, was glorious. Then gets cornered by the other one, who wants to rip his fucking head off because he ended up killing its kids. So then it nearly gets a hold of him and the fucking nuclear explosive there, before Godzilla grabs it by the fucking mouth, opens its mouth, fires a fucking huge beam through this fucking thing, tearing it apart, killing the last Muto creature and leaving any remnants of this thing dead as he goes on this boat and prepares to die. Then luckily enough, he's then saved by the military. And there's a nice moment where Godzilla collapses onto the fucking floor and he collapses at the same time, and everybody thinks, and it was like both of them sort of having their lives drained at the same time. It was a very nice moment. Kind of made me forget about the rest of this movie, but still, there you go. We then wrap the movie up, of course, with him being reunited with his wife and son in a very lackluster moment, and a very wooden, and I mean wooden, moment of him going, "Oh, hi son, Daddy missed you. Where's your mother? I mean, this was Troll 2 wooden." Oh my god! You know what scene I'm talking about? That one, of course, yes. So it continues as he finds his family. Ford is reunited with his family. Godzilla then, looking dead as everybody looks at it and mourns the loss of this big creature who everyone was scared of about 5-6 hours ago, then gets back up, goes back into the sea as everyone's like, yay, cheering! Dr. Shizawa then finds that they have balance and everybody's happy now that these big destructive creatures that have destroyed nearly half the planet are dead. And this other big destructive creature that's basically collapsed everything in order to kill its prey is alive. And that's pretty much it. And that's where this shitty story ends. Now, I know a lot of you are going to sit there and go to me, hey, why are you being so hard on this movie? And the reason I'm being so hard on this movie is because you've got two things. There's a whole premise to these types of movies. If it's a disaster movie, you focus on either what's seen or the unseen, the destruction that's going on. That's fine. You can call this a disaster movie, that's fine. If it's a monster movie, you focus either on the monster or on the actors. They decided to focus on the actors. And the one actor that you have in this movie, Bryan Cranston, who had any character development, who should have been the guy to lead the charge, to convince them basically and work with Dr. Shazara and basically bring this movie to full circle wasn't given the chance. They killed him off immediately. I don't know if it was something to do with pay or if they felt that it wasn't working. I don't know what it was, but his character was the only character that was well written, that was even had any sort of character development at all. You killed him off. That was your first big mistake, movie. The second is you allowed his son Ford to be the lead guy. The problem was he wasn't strong enough to do it. People didn't care about him. He didn't give us anything to care about. His dad died. It was like, meh. His wife and son returned to him. He wasn't concerned about them. He was just like, meh. And the whole process of him trying to get home was overshadowed by the fact that he just didn't give a fuck. And the fact that you made him fucking near enough inhuman to the point that he was so indestructible that nothing could hurt him. Can you see what the problem is? No? And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I'm planning on the backlash. And I can understand that there's the fair argument, and there's an argument that Xander Scullion pointed out to me as well of, well, if you look at the old Godzilla movies and judge them by the kind of B-movie-ish movies that they are, then you would understand that this is the norm, which is fine. Totally fine. But at the same level, why should this be the norm? If it's a B-movie, B-movies are very poorly directed, badly scripted, and also really low on the effects. But the one difference between the Godzilla B-movies and this was the fact that the Godzilla movies had Godzilla in them. This is another thing. If you look at the characters and you look at the monster himself, there was barely any monster in this movie. To the point it was laughable. Completely laughable about how much screen time Godzilla actually had. And the whole retardation of the military, I mean to the point where these guys acted like they were I know 5-year-olds who probably had better decision-making concepts than the military in this movie. It was ridiculous. And there was no clear antagonist. Yes, Motor was the antagonist of the movie, but there was no clear human antagonist. And basically, going back to Dr. Shizawa, he was the antagonist of this movie because he wanted to study these creatures instead of doing what should have been done in the first place and killing them. And also the cover up by the American and Japanese governments in regards to these monsters, these creatures. And this was the problem. You cannot make this guy redeemable because there was nothing redeemable about him. He just sat there and just went, oh, don't worry, it should be fine. Godzilla would take care of him. You let Godzilla clean up your fucking mess. Right? That's another big thing. And the overabundance of shaky cam. Seriously. The amount of shaky cam in this movie was ridiculous. I hope CinemaSins does a freaking sin about this movie because there was a ton of shaky cam overuse in this. You had badly written characters, you had a little to no story, you had people who were getting killed off to the fact that there was no need for. You had people being written into the story that had no idea what the fuck they were being used for and then written out slowly and brushed aside to continue with your plot point. This movie made a lot of money because of tons of diehard Godzilla fans out there who loved it. I myself would have been severely pissed because I saw this in 3D. And don't get me wrong, guys, I am a Godzilla fan. I love Godzilla. I was a fan of the cartoon series. I was a fan of the Japanese movies as well for what they were because they were extremely cheesy. This movie tried to take what was cheesy and make it uber serious. It's the same problem that went with another movie that I'll be reviewing on the series as well, RoboCop, that reboot. It shows why there's a whole rush to get these type of properties out there because everybody wants a series and a franchise and toys to be sold when they're not focusing on the clear concepts of who, what, where, when and why. Who are your antagonists and protagonists? What is going on in your story? Why is the situation happening? And when is it happening? You know? And And it bugs me. It really, really bugs me. Now, that rant being said, that rant being over, let's go to the acting and talk about some of the actors in this movie as well. As I can point out, I am a huge fan of Bryan Cranston. I love Bryan Cranston with all my heart, and it's not because I'm an avid watcher of Breaking Bad, which I am, and I loved him from Malcolm in the Middle as well, and you know, I'm a Power Rangers fan, so I know that he had a role in that as well. That's not it. He's one of those guys that had a very he did the one thing that I think nobody else in this movie tended to do, which was act. You know, he saw his character's torture. He had a backstory for his character. He had motivation. He knew what he was doing. And he allowed that to shine on camera. He had such a presence. And it was amazing. Now, the gentleman that played his son Ford, of course, was C.J. Adams. I believe that's how his name's spelled. I'm sort of going back and forth to my laptop here to try and figure this out. And he was just... The fact that you ditched Cranston to get this guy on, just give him camera time, he was just poor. Completely and utterly poor. So wooden. He may improve, don't get me wrong, and it could be because of the fact that the decision making for his character was kind of like, play him like this. I don't know how the direction was on this, but he was just extremely wooden. He had no sense of emotion. I didn't care about him, and it showed. And to have this guy as your lead actor was laughable. Then you've got basically Ken Watanabe, did everything he could as Dr. Senzawa. Again, as I've said before, he's the antagonist in this movie. That's how he was written, and the fact they shoved him into Cranston's role in a sense to give him purpose. And I don't know, maybe it was a budget thing. I don't know what it was, but they did that. Great actor in his own right, badly drawn character, and he did the best with what he could with it. And he showed a lot of emotion, a lot of range, and he did show a lot of sorrow for what happened previously. But it wasn't believable. And again, bad writing is what I'm attesting to this, and bad direction. Then you've basically got as well Elizabeth Olsen as Ford's wife, and she's going to be playing his sister in the Age of Ultron movie. But again, she did what she could with it. The really bad parenting skills of both her and Ford made me laugh. Their son literally could have been in harm's way, but neither of them seemed to have given a shit. Again, she did what she could with it. She wasn't given enough time to show any range that she had, and her character was just really badly written. And for everybody else, I really didn't care about them. CGI effects were amazing. You know, as I said, Godzilla was great from when we saw him. The Motar monsters, I didn't understand why they didn't get the rights to the other monsters in the franchise. Apparently there was some issues going on with them in Japan in order to actually get the rights from the main studio. But that is what it is. And in terms of the movie itself, now let's go to the rating, because I am completely and utterly frustrated by this. I give it a 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. I give this movie a 3. And people are like, Mike, why are you giving this movie a 3 if you said it was a complete pile of shit? When Godzilla was on camera, you know, it showed. I'm giving it a 3 also for Cranston's acting. When Cranston was on screen, was in front of that camera, he made me care. He made me care. Now, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to say to the movie's director. This is what I'm going to say to Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures. If you want someone who can direct, get yourself a better director on board, make sure you bring someone like Cranston into your next movie. Get someone who can work if you're going to focus on your characters. If not, take the focus away from the people, use them as fodder and as a backstory to the Godzilla. You know, that's the best way to do it, because as far as I'm concerned, you have written yourself into a very, very big corner now because of the CGI effects, because of Cranston's role, because the fact you guys over-promoted that and lied to your paying customers, which I was completely pissed off about. You need to now shift your focus a little bit. And again, as I said, I'm not hating on anybody. I'm not hating on anyone. If you enjoyed this movie, great for you. But for me, as someone who admires great storytelling, great acting, and wants to see the fucking monsters in the movie, I wasn't a fan of this film. I didn't like it. I felt that it dragged on too much. I felt that the characters themselves weren't anything I could give a shit about apart from Cranston and possibly Ken Watanabe as well. But the movie itself didn't hold anything great for me, guys. So that's pretty much it. That's my review of Godzilla, the 2014 movie. And you know, I'm probably going to say it. The 1998 movie was better acted. Yeah, I know a lot of people are going to give me hate mail. Leave your comments below. You can put your dislike for this video, of course, as well. I understand that people are going to be angry. But just do me a favour. Before you make a comment, before you get angry at me, before you attempt to troll the shit out of me and call me all sorts of names, just think. Look at how the story is done. Look at how the characters are structured. And look at how it's written. And tell me, by God-given right, if you believe that this movie itself deserves all the praise that it has, or do you think, like me, that basing it as a movie, as a Hollywood movie, other than being a Godzilla movie, does it hold water? And I'll tell you the fact that that's what I'm judging it as. I'm not judging it as a Godzilla movie. I'm judging it as a Hollywood movie. I'm judging it with its actors, because that was your forefront. I'm judging it with your character development. I'm judging it with basically the camera work and the direction. And I'm judging it based on its CGI. And that's why it gets 3 out of 5 from me. And guys, if you like this series, like, comment, subscribe, of course. Go back to season 1. Take a look at my season 1 videos. Take a look at my very long X-Men Days of Future Past video as well. I know it's over an hour. I'm sorry. I had a lot to talk about how great that movie was. And also, guys, make sure that you check me out for next week, as I will be doing, as a following trend, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So check that out, guys. Let me know what you think of this review. You know, and again, I am prepared for the shitstorm that is coming. And also check out my other videos as well. And I Got Gameplay, 8 PM every Saturday, EST, of course. We are basically doing a show this week on the Metal Gear series. So I'll see you then next week for another Moviefile, and I'll see you guys at the movies.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.